Introduction. Everyone is familiar with one's own surroundings. It plays an important role in the survival of all organisms. The sum of physical and biological factors, along with their chemical interactions that affect the organism, is called environment. The living organisms maintain a balance with each other and do its biotic and abiotic factors. All components of biosphere interact in an organized manner with the organisms. This interaction assures an organism to survive that may result in gradual evolution of the organism in the biosphere. The place wherein organisms live is called biosphere. One organism cannot completely defy the balance to suit one's need. Explanation. The relationships between organisms and their food. In earlier classes, with the help of food chains and food webs. Food chains are interconnected, and when we try to observe these connections among a number of food chains, then it becomes a food web. Food chain shows in a particular habitat. The arrows between each organism in the chain always point from the food to the feeder. Food chain consisting of grass, snake, rabbit, and hawk then connect the given organisms by putting arrows and make a food chain. The food chains are quite short and they rarely consist of not more than 4 steps. Food moves from producer to consumers, primary, secondary, and tertiary in a food chain. The numbers of organisms at each level decreases. Ecosystem, the energy-rich food passes from producers to consumers stepwise, with respect to their relationships. Producer, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, top carnivore. Examples: grass, grasshopper, frog, snake, hawk. Grass, rabbit, fox, wolf. Grass, goat, man. Example: grass, rabbit, snake, hawk. In the above food chain, grass is the primary producer, rabbit is the primary consumer, snake is the secondary consumer, and hawk is the tertiary consumer. Why do most of the food chains consist of 4 steps? Most of the food chains are quite short and mostly consist of 4 steps. This is because only 10% of the energy present in a level transfers to other level. Remaining energy is dissipated as heat produced during the process of respiration and other ways. Thus, about 3 steps in a food chain, very little energy is still available for us by living organisms. Why do the number of organisms get decreased as we move from producer to different level of consumers? As we move from producers to different level of consumers, the energy available will decrease gradually. Only only 10% of the energy present in one tropic level transfer to another tropic level. Biomass also decreases gradually as only 10 to 20% of the biomass is transferred from one tropic level to the next in a food chain. As there is less energy and less biomass available at top levels, number of organisms also less gradually. So, the number of organisms get decreased as we move from producer to different level of consumers. Food chain shows that how the energy is passed from one organism to another. At each transfer, a large proportion of energy is dissipated as heat produced during the process of respiration and other ways. Thus, above 3 steps in the food chain, very little energy is still available for living organisms to us. The biosphere, there are a number of major ecosystems, the terrestrial ones being determined largely by the variations in climatic conditions between the poles and equator. In a similar way, if you climb a mountain such as Kilimanjaro in equatorial Africa or Himalayan mountains in our country, ecosystems starting with tropical rainforest at the base and ending with perpetual snow and ice at the summit. The main climatic influences which determine these ecosystems are rainfall, temperature, and the availability of light from the sun. For instance, forests are usually associated with high rainfall, but the type is influenced by temperature and light. The same applies to deserts, occur in regions where rainfall is extremely low. But these links are never as simple or rigid as the word chain suggests. Example: aphids are eaten by many insectivorous birds in addition to warblers, and also ladybirds and other insects. Hawks, on the other hand, prey upon a considerable variety of birds and small mammals, so the term food web is often a better one to use when being precise. A greater number of possible links and reflects the fact that the whole community is a complex interconnected unit. The original energy from the sun flows through the whole ecosystem from one tropic level to another. Some of the feeding relationships amongst organisms living in deciduous woodland, the animals fit into special positions within the food web. Each is described as its niche. For instance, there is a niche for insects such as aphids, which suck up the juices of leaves. Another niche for insects such as caterpillars, which have strong jaws for biting off pieces of a leaf, and a niche for relatively large animals such as deer, which browse on a vegetation. All these animals feed on leaves, but they differ both in size and the manner in which they feed. So, the term niche denotes not only the animal's position in the food web and it eats, but also its mode of life. Just a habitat is the place where an animal lives. So, a niche describes its occupation, the way it goes about its business and earns its livings. Ecological pyramids. representation of the feeding level structure of an ecosystem by taking the shape of a pyramid is called ecological pyramids. It was first introduced by a British ecologist, Charles Elton, in 1927. In the ecological pyramid, the producers, that is, first trophic level, are represented at the base, and the successive trophic levels, that is, primary, secondary, and tertiary. There are three types of pyramids: pyramid of number, pyramid of biomass, and pyramid of energy. Pyramid of number shows the population of organisms at each trophic level in a food chain. Pyramid of biomass represents the available food as a source of energy at each trophic level in the food chain. Pyramid of energy represents the available energy at each trophic level in food chain. Pyramid of numbers. Pyramid of number is a geographical representation designed to show the number of organisms at each trophic level in a given ecosystem. The shape of this pyramid varies from ecosystem to ecosystem. Producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers. In an aquatic and grassland ecosystems, numerous small autotrophs support lesser herbivores, which supports further small numbers of carnivores, and hence the pyramid structure is upright. In forest ecosystem, less number of producers support greater number of herbivores, who in turn support fewer number of carnivores. Hence, the pyramid structure is partially upright. In parasitic food chain, one primary producer supports numerous parasites, which supports still more hyperparasites. Hence, the pyramid structure is inverted. Draw the pyramid of number for the following food chains: banyan, insects, woodpeckers, grass, rabbit, wolf, woodpecker, insects, banyan, wolf, rabbit, grass. Are the pyramid of numbers having same structure in both of the above two cases as compared to the example given in the earlier photograph? No. The pyramid of number in the above two cases does not have the same structure as compared to the example given in the text below. Sometimes the pyramid of numbers does not look like a pyramid at all. This could happen if the producer is a large plant such as tree, or if one of the organism at any trophic level is very small. So, keep one thing always in mind, that whatever the situation, the producer still goes at the bottom of the pyramid. Pyramid of biomass. What is biomass? Biomass is organic material of biological origin that is ultimately derived from the fixation of carbon dioxide by trapping solar energy during photosynthesis. This includes trees, shrubs, crops, grasses, algae, aquatic plants, agricultural and forest residues, and all forms of human, animal, and plant waste. Any type of plant or animal material that reduces from producers to top carnivores. Hence, the pyramid structure is upright. In an aquatic ecosystem, the biomass of phytoplankton is quite negligible as compared to that of crust oceans and small herbivorous fish that feed on these producers. The biomass of large carnivorous fish living on small fishes is still greater. This makes the pyramid of biomass inverted. Carnivorous fish, herbivorous fish, phytoplanktons. The biomass in each tropic level is always less than the tropic level below. This is because biomass is a measure of the amount of food available. When animals eat, only a small proportion of their food is converted into new tissue, which in turn forms the food for the next tropic level. The biomass that animals eat is either not digested or used to provide the energy needed for staying alive. The biomass pyramid shows that the animals are relatively inefficient in converting food into body tissues. The remaining part of the food, being undigested, is passed out as waste or broken down in respiration to supply energy for such activities as feeding. Many animals convert not more than 10% of their food into their body tissues. Some herbivores even less. Example, one in which we are involved eat fish. In this chain, the photoplanktons on the surface of water or sea are food producers. They trap energy from sunlight. The animal plankton feed on the microscopic plants and the fish in turn feed on the animal plankton. The pyramid of biomass for this particular food chain will be as follows. Photoplankton 1000 kg, zooplankton 100 kg, fish 10 kg, man 1 kg. In this particular food chain, roughly 90% of the food is lost at each step. So, it allows that it would take 1000 kg of plant plankton to produce 100 kg of animal plankton to form 10 kg of fish to produce 1 kg of human tissues. With a corresponding loss of the original plant potential energy that came from the sun. The original plant source in a food chain, the gatherer, the amount of energy is available to the population of that species. The fewer the steps in the food chain, the more energy will be for the species at the top. Pyramid of energy. Food is the source of energy for organisms that are used in the growth and rebuilding of the parts of the body that are constantly wearing out. The food, by its nature, is the chemical energy, and by in its stored form, it is the potential energy. There are several mechanisms in organisms for continuous absorption of materials for the production of organic material. Plants absorb the materials from the soil. They are absorbed into the plants through roots. Photosynthesis is an essential process for the life. The energy of sunlight, CO2 and H2O, which of course needed by all living things, belong to non-living things. As a result of photosynthesis, these can be made available available in a suitable form of energy, the food to the world of living things, the animals or consumers. Only by the green plants, the producers. The food chains and food webs help in the transfer of food and energy from the producers to different consumers. Animals obtain the minerals from the plant or animal food or both. Thus, the mineral matter is constantly being removed from the earth to become a part of the plant, which may become a part of animal body. Curd that we eat is processed from milk, comes from a cow, which in return eats grass. The grass carries out photosynthesis and prepares food. In every case, the origin of food materials can be traced back to green plants. Once the food is earned, its energy follows a variety of patterns through the organisms. Not all the food can be fully digested and assimilated. Hair, feathers, insect exoskeletons, cartilage, and bone in animal foods, cellulose and lignin in plant foods cannot be digested by most animals. These materials are either ejected by defecation or regurgitated in pellets of indigested remains. Assimilated energy is available for the synthesis of new biomass through growth reproduction. Organisms lose some biomass by death, disease, or animal leaf drop, where they enter the detritus pathways of the food chain. That is, after the death of decomposition of organisms, the materials flow back into the environment. The remaining biomass is eventually consumed by herbivorous or predators, and its energy thereby enters the next higher trophic level in the ecosystem. Solar energy produces, that is, chemical energy, heat. Consumers, that is, chemical energy, heat. The materials kept on cycling, that is, entering the living beings and through death and decay returning to the soil and atmosphere, such as flow of materials between organisms and their environment, is called cycling of materials or mineral circulation or biochemical cycles. Energy enters the producers in the ecosystem from the sun in the form of solar energy, of solar radiation. No other organisms except green plants and photosynthesis bacteria, due to the presence of chlorophyll, are capable of absorbing solar energy and converting it into chemical energy. The producers, the chemical energy passes to the consumers from one trophic level to the next through food. At each trophic level, organisms use most of the food energy that they assimilate into their bodies to fulfill their metabolic requirements, performance of work, growth, and reproduction. Because biological energy transformations are inefficient, a substantial proportion of metabolized food energy is lost, unused as heat. Only a small fraction goes to the ether at next trophic level. Organisms are no different from man-made machines in this respect. In natural communities, energy used to preform work or dissipate as heat cannot be consumed by other organisms and is forever lost to the ecosystem. The effects of human activities on ecosystem. We have different types of pollution as a result of human interventions in ecosystem. In this session, we cut forest to grow food crops, brings harmful changes in ecosystem and affects organisms of each trophic level. The components of environment, their interactions and effects of human interactions. Story of Koleru Lake. Freshwater lakes provide the nutritional requirements of the world's poorest people. One such lake is Koleru, which is now originally wetland. It is one of the largest freshwater lakes in India, existing between West Godavari and Krishna districts of the state of AP. The lake extended up to 6,121 kilometers square. The Lake Koleru discharges its excess water into the Bay of Bengal through the twisty canal called Uppateru, about 65 kilometers long. Nevertheless, the Koleru wetland receives huge quantity of nutrient-rich sediments from the floodplains of these rivers. In November 1999, the government of AP had declared the lake as bird sanctuary. This lake is hosting 193 species of birds and variety of flora and fauna, including medicinal plants. It attracts migratory birds from northern Asia and eastern Europe between the months of October and March. It is estimated as 20 lakh birds per year. The lake was also an important habitat for an estimated 20 million residents. This largest sweetwater lake has not only shrunk in size but faced a great threat due to pollution in the last 3 decades, as revealed by satellite pictures. The decrease in water area and muddy ground in the lake resulted in flooding. Classes. Area in 1967 kilometers square. Area in 2004 kilometers square. Lake water spread area 70.70, 62.65. Lake with space speed 0, 47.45. Lake with dense speed 0, 15.20. Lake level to flood in rainy season 100.97. 0. Aquaculture pond